I am a very confident woman and practitioner. And I gotta say, going head to head with Claude, I'm like, guys, what if Claude is better? And as somebody who dwells in this space of future-proof leadership, like I'm writing an entire book on future-proof leadership, that it's so funny because it didn't actually occur to me until we spoke last week, Brittain, that like, oh my God, what if my job is threatened by AI? I've totally been like, oh, it's fine. I know how to, and it was like, oh, honey, what if? So I think this is just so funny, and what a powerful way of illustrating AI can be a partner. AI is a wonderful tool, but as I preach, you can't automate relationships. You can't automate for nuance. And I'm hoping we can highlight that today in our conversation too.
Welcome back to Take It Online, where we dive deep into workplace dynamics, exploring how culture shapes the happiness and productivity of employees. I'm your host, Brittain Wells, partner and organizational culture advisor of an AI product company in the organizational development space called the Happy Employees. We support executives, CEOs, and HR professionals to establish or reestablish positive, productive, high-performing, and happy work environments. On our podcast, some of the topics will be culture-focused, some will be AI-focused, and some will be focused on how the two intersect. We hope you finish each episode having laughed a little, learned at least a little, and excited to tune into the next episode. If you enjoy our episode, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends and colleagues. All right, everyone, we have a really fun episode for you today. We've got Leisse Wilcox with us today. She is a speaker on emotional intelligence. She is a podcaster, among all kinds of other things. She has a dynamic personality, and she's really excited to discuss emotional intelligence with us today in kind of a more creative format. And so today we are going to throw scenarios at Leisse and get her to give us her perspective, her professional opinion on how you should manage this type of scenario from standpoint of having high emotional intelligence. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take that same scenario and throw it into Anthropic's Claude and see what Claude has to say about how to utilize emotional intelligence to manage these types of scenarios and kind of do a comparison, good, bad. What do they do well? What do we do better? And where do we meet in the middle? And where can AI support? And where are they going to fall short? And the human component is going to be absolutely necessary. We also have Akila here today, obviously our resident AI expert, so to lend in some of those AI insights. And so we're really excited. Thank you so much for joining us today, Leisse.
It is my pleasure. Here we go.
All right, Leisse, let's talk through you. Who are you? Where did you come from? What are you doing now? Kind of what's your professional background and what are your professional aspirations?
Great questions. So yes, my name is Leisse Wilcox. I live in a tiny beachfront town just east of Toronto, Canada. So I'm coming to you from up north. I'm a mom of 3, first and foremost, and I'm a future-proof leadership expert. So I'm a regular Forbes contributor, an award-winning speaker, 2-time best-selling author working on my 3rd book right now. And I have spoken for, 20 plus years on stages and in media outlets across North America and into Europe. I've been called the Marie Kondo of your unconscious. I help make you the kind of leader everybody wants to work with. Those leaders where you're just like, oh, I love my boss, or like, oh, my mentor is so amazing. I help make people that kind of leader by really returning to the basics of emotional intelligence. I'm an advocate, a passionate believer that even in the age of AI, as I said, the one thing we can't automate is relationships, especially being a mom of 3. I'm asked all the time, how do we lead better, faster, more effectively? I see the answer sitting across from me every Sunday night at the family dinner table. Like, it's so simple. It's communication, it's confidence, integrity, following through, really being able to listen and put curiosity over ego, taking responsibility. It's all of that. And so I work with leaders and teams, both privately and in corporate, to offer all kinds of speaking, facilitation, workshops, and training on how to bring the basics back. When I'm not, I think I say in my bio this line that I love, when I'm not lighting up the stage, the page, or the internet, you can find me road tripping for tacos with my husband, listening to Taylor Swift with my daughters, or binge watching HBO with my dog.
That's awesome. Do you have a current favorite HBO binge?
So White Lotus. Did you guys watch White Lotus 1 or 2?
No.
Oh, it's so good. And I'm like so jealous that you haven't seen it yet.
I just finished binge watching the morning show, and there's something about like when you binge watch something and then it's going to be so long before the next episode. It's like this like depression sets in. You're like, what am I going to do with myself?
That is a real thing.
I'm actually watching Younger on Netflix, and then
You say Younger?
Younger, yeah. It's a novel. I think they made it as a series. The cool thing about the show is it shows the variations of different ages in the publishing industry. And it talks about millennials, boomers and stuff, and how they navigate with this all new updates, right? With trending, with social media marketing, how the publishing industry is changing across, and how they also kind of touched about AI. Apart from all the other drama of like, relationships and all, they did highlight like properly of how the workplace has been changing and how the leadership has been changing. Like if you have a 26-year-old becoming an editor versus like, you have 50 years of experience in the publishing world. How do you navigate this? How do you navigate the current workplace? And they talk about the threat of AI.
Okay. Y'all ready to dive in?
Yes.
All right. So let's talk about scenario number 1. So scenario number 1 is we are going to talk about responding to a public relations crisis. We are no stranger to that these days, different public relations crises. So a senior executive posted a joke on social media that was intended to be lighthearted, but was widely perceived as insensitive to a recent natural disaster. The post quickly went viral, drawing backlash from customers, employees, and media outlets. Some longtime clients are threatening to cut ties, and employees are privately expressing frustration, worried about how the controversy might affect the company's reputation and their job security.
Okay, so the first thing is like blanket statement to practice genuine emotional intelligence and really get very real with it requires a tremendous degree of taking responsibility and accountability for your actions. So if one of the possible things that this executive is feeling is like, guys, it was just a joke, like lighten up, it's not a big deal, I would consider that to be the wrong approach in handling this. The first thing we're going to want to do is have him address his role and like really take ownership of this. And, having integrity and taking responsibility means addressing from a place of truth, transparency, and vulnerability. So it's going to sound something like, I made a mistake. Against my better judgment, I shared something that, brought me a little bit of joy. And I realized in hindsight, completely tone deaf. And for this, I am truly sorry. I'm not a PR specialist, but from that place, it's probably going to go in the direction of putting my money where my mouth is. And it's probably going to look like, to show you, how regrettable my actions are, to show you how seriously we take this natural disaster. We've actually pledged now to commit X dollars to this fund or to do this thing to support this family, to help them navigate it. So that's like the public facing place I would start. Ownership, radical responsibility, and like audacious accountability. Truth, transparency, integrity. On the flip side, now we have all the internal politics that we're going to have to deal with. Clients are pissed. Employees are pissed. People are like, what am I doing working for this maniac who has absolutely no self-awareness? They're going to post something like this in such a troubling time. We're going to address those concerns head on. Now, depending on the scope, that might be as intensive as hosting a town hall in which we're like having a meeting and really declaring like, I really made a mistake, and I'm hoping person to person you can find it to forgive me. Please don't let this be a reflection of my professionalism or my commitment to what we're doing here. It was a very human error, and I'm sorry about that. In terms of client facing, like the whole point here is, again, through this EQ lens, we want to reestablish trust and safety, because when we violated trust and or safety, nobody feels comfortable in that scenario. So through responsibility, integrity, honesty, transparency, we're looking to reestablish these bonds of trust and this feeling of safety. Vulnerability is a great avenue to do that. That might look like reaching out, like sending out a bulletin to all your clients of like, listen, I'm sure you've read about this. In case you haven't, I want to be the first person to tell you about it. I made a mistake. Here's what we're doing about it. And we'd love to know in your own companies, this is like just for clients in your own experience, have you dealt with this before? Have you dealt with this like very human error of thinking something was a good idea at the time and it wasn't? We'd love to know your feedback, B2B. What do you think about this? To employees, same thing. It's going to be this outreach, as I said, maybe a town hall, but some kind of forum in which we can be together, establish trust, connection, and safety to be like, I made a mistake. Please don't let this be a reflection. And if anybody has feedback or insights that they want to share, we're making this person available to take your comments and concerns. From here, this is how we move forward. And then, maybe we're looking, if it's getting really serious, maybe we're looking at a policy shift in terms of what we're doing about public posting from a personal account versus from a company account. But in any way, we're taking responsibility and we're addressing it openly. And then we're moving forward with a positive action that it closes that say-do gap.
Just a follow-up question on that. What emotions do you think that person would have when he is getting information? How should he or she handle that particular emotions, right? Like all in terms of fixing whatever issue was known. Now, if you think about that personal emotions, that heart rate increasing or some kind of all emotions that go through, how should one analyze or understand those emotions and process them during this time?
There's going to be a huge range of emotions because in option one, this person doesn't think they've done anything wrong. And so getting this kind of backlash or hinting at cancel culture, one approach might be like, oh, great, everybody's so woke, they just can't take a joke. Or like, what did I do wrong? I can't believe people are piling on. So there might be in one camp a lot of resentment or anger even, or like, what's even the word for it? There's just feeling of being attacked and unnecessarily judged, right? Option two is that maybe there's some of that that merges into option two, or maybe they just start at shame. Shame is an insidious emotion because whatever we're feeling, like regret, remorse, embarrassment, it doesn't matter. If shame is present, it's like this master emotion, this like wet blanket that pushes everything else down. So if this person is feeling any ounce of shame, which they probably are, then there's going to be a tendency to feel really insecure, unsafe, and needing to make a difference. In terms of how to manage that, there's no better way to manage it than to go forward with honesty and integrity. If we try to minimize it, it doesn't work. If we try to repress our emotions, it's not going to work. To be able to actively listen with curiosity over ego is the only way through this. Even if you think you're right and everybody else is in the wrong, stay curious, stay actively listening to what other people have to say, not only for your own learning and development, but to really get a sense of what nerve did this strike and how do we circumvent this in the future.
Wow, that's really great response. I actually learned a lot. Before we hear what Claude gave us, do you see the difference already?
Yeah. Yes.
Hit me, Claude. What do you have to say?
I was like, well, I was reading the Claude response while you're going. I was like, look at that, man.
Yeah. So
like you're like getting everything that they got, which is like Akila's talking about. It's like they've got the theory, right? But you've got the nuance. You've got the human touch. You've got the, Let's hit her with Claude, Akila. Let's tell her what Claude.
Let me walk through the Claude response, and also I want to highlight what your response have more value versus what Claude is. Definitely for this, like, team Leisse.
Okay, great. So we got the scorecard up.
Yes, scorecard is there. So Leisse, the first response from AI is categorizing the emotional intelligence components, right? So it says, right, the person could feel self-awareness and self-regulation. And in self-awareness, they spoke about shame and embarrassment, like you highlighted. They talked about anxiety, personal defensiveness, monitor stress levels and physical responses, be aware of tendency to rationalize or minimize. And then for self-regulation, they're asking, like, don't control your immediate defensive reactions, don't over explain, like, don't have impulse to over explain or justify, channel your anxiety. But what I felt it's missing is the point that you were saying, right? Accept your mistake, whether even if it's right or wrong, just accept it, because it became like a big thing where you have to understand, listen, and active listening point. There's no response about that from Claude. Nothing in all the breakdown. It didn't specify anything, like Claude or like the AI did not respond anything in terms of what you have to listen and what you have to learn from this experience. It did talk about processing strategy, like what should be the immediate step, what should be the long term and short term responses. Like in immediate phase, like, acknowledge emotions, practice breathing techniques, seek immediate support from an advisor, these kind of things. And in long term, it's more of develop new emotional awareness practices. What does that even mean? Like develop new emotional practices, like what does it mean about it? And then communication, right? It did say that with direct reports, show appropriate vulnerability, the point that you highlighted, maintain calm presence, demonstrate empathy, be honest about it with board or stakeholders and with public. It did say, like, show your emotional maturity by accepting the truth, express genuine responses, communicate with human touch. What does that mean? Again, communicate with human touch, what does it mean? It doesn't explain, but you gave an example, right? What kind of email that can be sent to a client, how you could do a follow-up, like, hey, if you were in this situation, how did you handle it? That's a good way. That's something that I actually learned too. And in terms of like developing areas, right, it had a category saying that develop stronger impulse control, develop crisis management skills, build stronger emotional intelligence, enhance public communications capability. It's scary. Everything is scary. There's nothing that touched. I highlighted the points that you actually made, Leisse, where you spoke about the trust and safety, right? This happened. How are you going to ensure or give that kind of safety to your employees, clients, and stuff? AI didn't touch anything related to that aspects. It didn't give any examples in terms of like how you could react or what level of communication or language it has to be. And it didn't talk about this concept resentment, right? Like it did say, like, you might be denial, but the feeling of attacking, like, someone is attacking you because of this, how do you navigate through those emotions? AI didn't touch anything related to that. AI didn't touch in anything in terms of explaining about insecurity or feeling unsafe in that situation. And the other point that you touched, which is really important, is ego, right? Curiosity over ego, how the active listening would help. I think there's a lot more that you actually personalized and explained to that situation. Much, much, much better than what AI could say.
Whew. Okay, we're 1 for 1. Thank you.
You feel a little less out of the hot seat now.
A little less, yeah, I feel a little less out of the hot seat. That's such a, also, like, kudos to you. That's such an incredible example of a scenario, because from where I sit, that's not an if, it's a when. We have so much access to public profiles instantly, or public platforms rather instantly, and we are all human and we are all flawed. That scenario is going to be a when, not an if. So that's very cool to work through.
And I just think it's hard. It's like there's a point where you feel really comfortable, and whether it's within your organization or publicly facing or in whatever professional sphere that you're landing in, there's a point where you start to feel really comfortable where you allow yourself maybe some allowances that you potentially shouldn't be allowing yourself for sure. But, you know, you let that guard down like you do with your family who would put you in check. Like, what did you just say? Are you kidding me? And like, then you can have that quick learning without all of this build on top of it. And we're in such a world where this is a weird leap, but my husband's 20th high school reunion, I went with him, and I had not met the vast majority of people that were there. And I don't know if y'all have ever gone to a reunion with a spouse or a significant other, but in the age of social media, all of these people who are all friends with him on social media, who are not friends with me on social media, felt like they knew me. They knew that we had moved to Denver. They knew that we had lived in an apartment. They knew all these things about my life and seen all these pictures and seen all this stuff. So they're talking to me about all this stuff. And I'm like, what is your name? Like, you. And so in this world where we have this ultra connectedness, it almost feels like, oh, this person who I hardly know that I met 5 years ago on, you know, under these circumstances, I feel like I know them just as well as I know any of my close friends because I see all the things they're doing. I see their personality. I see their perspective. I see their political stance, their religious. Like I know all these very personal and intimate details about people.
No kidding.
And then it kind of allows us this false sense of security that I can then just kind of throw things out there the way that I would with all these people that I'm really close to, because all, you know, 2,000 of my Facebook friends, we're really close. You know?
We're so tight.
So close.
Well, and we're not officially under surveillance 24/7, but I mean, if we're going to break it down, we are, right? Yeah. We are. And so when we're speaking or we're on a video, we're in a conversation, like somebody is always listening. Somebody or something is always listening. And we're gonna slip up. It's what we do. So having a plan for that without the instant need to like, well, they're canceled, like just cut them right off, is like, I hope that's the direction we go in the future, that we have some compassion, some accountability and responsibility 100%, and some compassion that we need to end this. Like, let's put people on a pedestal and then let's just try to push the pedestal over and watch them fall, right?
It's one thing if you have repeated offenses, right? Like if you just repeatedly don't care and you are not learning from any mistakes and
push the pedestal over.
Right. Like that's one thing. But if it's something where it's like, you know, this person and you have trusted this person and you feel like this seems kind of out of character for this person, it probably is, right? Like, but if it doesn't seem out of character for that person, then shame on you, right? Like, you know, like you're still following someone that you know that this is not out of character for. So why are you surprised, right? Versus if you're surprised, if people feel surprised, there's a reason you feel surprised. And that's when you and some compassion and some grace. That's when that emotional intelligence should say, like, for all the people, something is weird here. This feels off. Like, this does not seem typical for this human or this individual.
Yeah.
Let's do some digging and figure out why they're not. Join me, Brittain Wells, and the rest of us at the Happy Employees as we embark on this exploration of Take It Online. Whether you're an HR professional, a business leader, or simply curious about what makes great workplaces tick, this podcast is for you. Thank you for tuning in to our latest episode. Until our next episode, remember, a positive culture is not just a goal, it's a journey. Taking it offline hides feedback and stifles progress. Keep it open. Take it online.